Welcome back, my dark beings, to the Dark Void, ruled by me, Nub51. And today we're back to another random reaction. Today we're gonna be watching, what was it? 100 players simulate middle-age civilization in Ark. And this is basically by Mr. Smart Guy. Basically, I've been interested in these social experiments in like different platforms and saying how many people when you put people in games and like let them do what they want in each faction and all that, and literally find out how it devolves into like people going after each other. Well, factions going after each other. It's really amazing. I've seen some of them. I've seen some from Minecraft. I've seen some from Ark. I've seen some from other platforms, and it's pretty hilarious and it's pretty awesome to see how all this like changes. And the recent one I've watched was a deserted one and a desert one, and you can hilarious how that ended up. Either way, we're here to watch this. We're gonna see, and I decided to do it. Let's react to this on the channel. Let's finally do it. I think this is like a year ago, but it doesn't matter. I'll still watch it. Well, actually, I think we all still watch them anyway. Either way, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Yeah, like I said, I'll have a link to the description down below for you guys to go watch it yourselves. For you guys to go watch it yourselves, alright? Without my beautiful voice. Alright, and let's get ready. I don't have anything else to say, so let's get ready. Let's start. 3, 2, 1. Let's begin this social experiment.
I split 100 players between 3 middle-aged civilizations, the Romans, the Mongolians, and the Barbarians, each with their own custom strengths and weaknesses, to see how each civilization adapts to their environment. To properly simulate these times, all dinosaurs will be banned. However, horses, bears, lions, and Arctic elephants are all allowed. Will they make peace or will they wage war? This is 100 players simulate the Middle Ages in Ark Survival Evolved.
Well, we're gonna see how this plays out.
First up, we have the Mongolian civilization. After spawning in, most of them gathered around a fire to fight off the freezing conditions of the snow. However,
well, that's how you're gonna start.
Began farming for resources such as wood and stone. Later on, they decided to meet up on top of a mountain that had great defense points, as they planned on building a mighty base.
Yeah, plus best for horses.
Is the Romans. These guys spawned in the chalk hills, but they were getting killed by mountain lions one after one.
Man,
one in the open would be killed. A small group of players managed to set up camp with thatched foundations and walls. Using this, they had a bit of safety. A few of the Romans managed to tame some horses, and just as another line ran into camp, the Romans grouped up, and by using the horses, they were able to kill this line.
Sorry about that. Mom and I came in here to check if everything's alright. She heard something pop in here. I gotta be on alert because she was worried that it might be a gas leak. But since my room is like close to the thing, like literally it's close, I can actually sniff it out a little bit better. Hold on, let me check. Okay, we're doing good. It's just not. But if I all of a sudden stop, maybe I stop in the middle of it, just to let you know, I had to go investigate. All right. So don't worry. It's all right. Don't worry, guys. All right. Sorry about that. Hold on. Let me check again. It's all good. But like I said, if I start smelling something, I will let you guys know, and I'll be basically stopping the video right there. All right. Moving on.
Mountain lions hide. The Romans were able to make clothing, which would protect them from the elements.
Okay, so they survived it.
To set up an irrigation pipeline. Also,
of course, like the Romans.
On the Roman
historically accurate.
We now go to our third and last civilization, the Barbarians.
Let's see what they got.
Set up their camp in a small cave, and this was only temporarily, as they decided to go on boats, as that was their custom speciality. The Barbarians had also started smelting some metal. This meant they could craft better and better metal tools to survive.
Okay.
Now we head back to the
sorry, that was an ad there.
And progress was going really good. These guys' custom strength was unlimited number of horses, and so their best players went out and began taming as many as physically possible.
Hey,
the Mongolians would use these horses to advance and retreat very quickly in battle. And it seemed the Mongolians' time to battle was near. A group of Arctic elephants walked up to the base.
Oh man.
The Mongolians were really strong, and they had players outside on horses with bows that began shooting these Arctic elephants.
Use the horses!
Up top, they managed to kill the entire group of elephants.
We should try taming one.
Of these elephants, the Mongolians managed to get loads of hide and loads of fur, meaning they could make fur armor to stay warm. But just
Sweet.
as peace was established, a group of wolves circled the Mongolians
Dang.
and tore apart 2 horses and 1 player, killing all 3 of them.
Retreat to the house!
Mongolians managed to kill some of the wolves, however, they had no other option than to retreat back up to the base. There was only 1 wolf remaining, but the soldiers inside were very low, so backup had arrived. The Mongols up top had also started using bows to kill this wolf, and victory was re-established.
Alright.
Back
Losing
over to
people
the
real
barbarian
fast.
civilization. They had moved out of their cave base and instead settled on the shore, where resource collection and bow construction had started. The barbarians were actually a really well organised team, but as they keep moving from settlement to settlement, they didn't have the best technologies. Also,
Well, they are
their bows
barbarians.
were looking slightly debatable, but
Heh.
back over at the Roman
that rock?
civilization, resources were being collected. This was so their main builder Ace had the means to build a huge circular castle base, which he had planned previous to this event. The Romans also had a huge metal smelting rig, which they used to make better and better tools. The
Okay.
Romans had also tamed a small group of horses.
They are romance.
Players found something incredible. It's Call of Dragons, an MMO fancy
Some ads here, huh?
by the creators of Rise of Kingdoms.
where
Dive
there's
into a
no
realm
dragons in
where
that timeline,
legends
huh?
come to life, where you become the hero of your own destiny. Call of Dragons gives boundless exploration in a fantasy realm. Recruit diverse heroes like elven maidens, orcs, and forest mages, and embark on quests to extraordinary
There's your scan right there if you guys want to play
Firefly
it.
Tree and Frozen Spires. Unite with allies, conquer behemoths, and expand your
I'm not
domain.
sponsored, by the way.
Call of Dragons,
I gotta
you
start
can
saying
conquer
that in
monstrous
case these ads
behemoths
start
in the
appearing
wilderness.
during the video.
As you enter the behemoth lair, it becomes a fight for survival, where teamwork is crucial. Each member of your team will need to use their unique abilities effectively. Deploy fearless melee warriors, mounted cavalry for devastating
I would just
charges,
go swarm
expert
in.
marksmen for ranged attacks,
No joke, I would just swarm in and be done with
to
it.
control the chaos. But remember, the battlefield is unforgiving and always changing, requiring perfect harmony among your team to conquer the relentless challenges and achieve triumph. To dominate the ruthless battlefield, you need to brace yourself for thrilling guild versus environment battles against various behemoth types, just like the Behemoth Dragon. Are you prepared to rise to the savage challenge? Master the art of survival as the Beastmaster. In the harsh, unforgiving wilderness, as an appointed skilled Beastmaster, you hold the key to survival. Harness your razor-sharp reflexes and expert handling of behemoths to secure dominance in the untamed landscape. Unleash untamed devastation by choosing the perfect creature and
Sounds
summoning
pretty good.
it onto the battlefield.
But like I said, I would just kept throwing my units over to the enemy.
And download
The bosses just to kill it. I've done that before in other strategy games.
You can become a Beastmaster today.
The downside is I lose more often than.
You can use the special
But once I
code
get him, I'm
COD Monster,
like basically I would win eventually.
including limited
And then I get an
monsters
overpowered
and
beast.
mythical magic.
Okay, back in the news.
Mongolian civilization, progress was looking great. They constructed some large defensive wooden walls littered with spikes everywhere. Their main base was built out of stone, and they
Yeah, I don't mind if I
followed
put, like,
design.
If they
All
do
over
some
the
ads in there,
base,
because
the
I really like to
had
support
made
other
some
content
Mongolian
creators when they
wooden
do that.
huts. These huts would provide
Except when it's
housing
YouTube.
for all of these Mongolian members, and inside there were fireplaces for all of the
YouTube
members to cook
is way
food
too
that they
aggressive
needed
now.
to survive.
Okay, back on topic. My brain was like rattling on.
The Romans also were doing really well. One of their members had crafted an entire Roman flag, which was absolutely amazing.
Sweet.
They also got some steady progress going with the metal.
Okay,
Back
so
over
far
at
nobody's
the
started
barbarian
attacking each other yet.
civilization, their boats were looking beyond strong. The entire boats were made fully out of stone. They had also elected a leader, General Big Frank, and his aim
Nice.
was to get as many ballista and catapult turrets on these boats as physically
If
possible.
they could get metal on them, then they'd be talking.
The Mongolians,
rare.
on the other hand, had a duty way past any of the other teams. Their leader, Albert, had ordered for all of the members to get a haircut.
Huh.
This haircut was not a choice. All the members had to do it, otherwise they would be executed. And so, every Mongolian man lined up to get a haircut. Albert insisted that in future, if they were to raid any single person, they must all look the part and look absolutely splendid. However,
Makes
in the
sense.
time that Albert and his Mongolians were wasting time, the Romans had constructed an entire fortress, and this thing, made completely out of stone, was looking amazing.
Nice.
Their elected president, Donald Trump, was taking charge.
Look at that. The president has arrived. God.
However,
Oh my
as it was going
God.
well, it seemed a traitor was at the Roman base. This traitor had tried screwing over the Romans by killing some of the members.
Really?
He claimed he was from the Mongolian team. In reality, this traitor wasn't from the Mongolian team. He was from the Romans. He was just trying to do them dirty. But Donald Trump and the Roman civilization didn't know he was lying. And so they started to get angry about Mongolians being on this map.
Oh.
Romans planned on invading the Mongolian civilization at any point they could. If any of them could find the base location, Donald would send the army and they would attack the Mongolians. But before they did that, they would
very
get
interesting.
a little bit of revenge. As Donald thought this traitor was from the Mongolian team, he ordered for him to be killed.
Execute him! Okay, there we go.
After being pierced with a spear, was taken by the death penalty. The Roman civilization did not look like they were going to give in anytime soon to any other tribe.
Okay, this is starting to get good.
Civilization. Tensions were rising high. They wanted to go out and attack another civilization immediately, as their players were getting restless. And so Albert ordered a speech to be held up on his throne. After all players were gathered, Albert announced that he wanted to leave this base on these horses and go and search the land for any other of the civilizations. He said first that they would search the water, as they believed barbarians would have boats. Albert was exactly correct, and now this civilization
He's not
was on
wrong.
the way to the barbarians.
It's time for a raid! It's time for a raiding party!
And now the Mongolians were leaving the base, heading straight for the barbarians' oceans, where they would most likely be found.
If the barbarians smart, they'll leave the water.
Because the Mongolian speciality was horses and flame arrows with bows, the barbarians on foot would have no chance of taking down these Mongolians. The barbarians would
Man,
get
did somebody die already?
quickly and craft jar of pitch and catapult turrets to survive the attack. But just as the barbarians needed peace to upgrade their boats, it seemed wolves had started attacking their members. All of the barbarian members panicked and tried getting into the water. However, some of them were still killed by the wolves.
They're losing people.
Barbarians' elite force brought these wolves into the water and managed to kill most of them. But there was still one high-level wolf remaining on the land, and so the elite force of barbarians brought them over to this rock and managed to knock it out by using clubs and swords. Even though they're now safe, this wasn't good for these barbarians in the slightest, as loads of their members had died.
Sorry about that, that was an ad. But yeah, that's not good.
Were traveling fast. And
They better hurry.
The land of the barbarians.
The Mongolians got a chance.
The border between
If they
the
just
snow
defeat them now,
and barbarian territory, and
they'll
they
be
would
able to
head
win,
the river
defeat the barbarians.
where they thought the barbarians would be. But instead, all of the barbarian members had gone on their one SS destroyer boat to circle the perimeter. Now the barbarians had no idea that the Mongolians were here, but they just at the right time left the base. Because the Mongolians found all of their boats and their building on land. As there was no barbarians at the base, these Mongolians went straight in with their horses and just started destroying everything.
Yeah, just basically raid everything.
Mongolians
Take
were just
everything.
finishing their looting spree, and they began crossing the water.
Oh, here we go. It begins.
Just at the wrong time, the barbarians wandered
And they're in the water.
SS destroyer boat. One of the Barb members managed to land a ballista on the force of the Mongolians, and then all the fighting began. They started shooting catapults, their speciality jar of pitch, and also ballistas. Now these jar of pitch would cause explosions, killing many of the Mongolian members. It was like a grenade but filled with oil, and this caused the Mongolians to light up in flames.
Hey, they better start running.
As many of the Mongolian members had serious casualties, the leader Albert ordered for them to retreat and try and waste the ammo of the barbarians. Some members ran in with horses and ran out, trying to waste more and more.
Just like Raid, just like the real Mongolians.
Actually working pretty effectively, and the barbarians ended up wasting about 7
It's time for them to run off
without any more new kills. But when the barbarian leader, King Frank, realized it wasn't effective, he ordered them to move out into the open sea. Back over at the
I have to say, pretty smart.
A bear was lurking nearby. Now everyone knows in the Middle Ages you can't tame a bear, meaning you can't tame it in this simulation.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
The Romans had a great idea. What if they could get the bear to aggro on them, follow them into a trap that their builders make? Then, when any other team attacks their base, the Romans will unleash the gates and let the bear go straight out back into the open, where it will rip apart any invading players or horses.
That would actually be smart, but they gotta make sure they knock it out
very quickly. And so they went to the Chalk Hills after fighting some barbarians. In the Chalk Hills, the Mongolians grouped up and they organized a plan to search these Chalk Hills and find the Roman base. One of their players managed to stumble across this Roman base, and he informed everyone else on the location. But these
Oh.
Mongolians didn't know what they were up against. The Roman base was one of the biggest bases built
Oh, wow.
had.
Look at that.
Romans had built archer podiums within their walls on the top of their base, and so if any Mongolians invaded, they could get speared down by Romans. This was a very strong team, and it'd be very difficult for the Mongolians, only with hand gear, to get inside this
Yeah, it's
base.
gonna be very hard.
The Romans had the bear ready at any moment to be unleashed for the Mongolians who were attacking. The Mongolians arrived and began galloping towards the Romans' base. Now this Roman Empire, however, had no idea whatsoever these Mongolians were here. Only until about 30 seconds in the attack, they realized there was about 15 Mongolians outside the base.
Okay.
The Romans weren't too sure on what they should even do, but one of their members managed to get on top of the bear, and he was ready to release at any moment. He didn't want to release too early because he thought the Mongolians would just outrun the bear with the horses, so he was waiting for some of them to get on
Okay.
foot. But the Mongolians were adamant on staying on their horses so they could move quickly in and out to escape
Okay.
these Roman spears. One of the Roman members managed to get lassoed by the Mongolians
Oh.
off of the base.
Well, that's not good.
Unfortunately, this player was left all by himself, and he was running for his life. But because the Mongolians had the advantage of speed,
It's over for
they
him.
had to catch up to this Roman player as fast as possible and end his life.
It's over.
However, as the Romans were now in a position of defeat and the Mongolians were feeling victorious, the Romans released the bear. Now this thing was way too big, way too powerful, and way too high level for any of these horses to
Yeah, exactly.
but one of the Mongolians had a really good idea. He got the bear aggroed on him, he started running, risking his life. He ran away from the Roman
Man, that's a
base,
noble soul
leaving
right
his
there.
bear behind him, hoping to get it away from
That's a noble soul right there.
members. This fellow brave man was successful, and the bear was led away from the Roman base, and the Mongolians were safe.
What a brave man.
The Mongolian members then began lining up at the front of the Romans' base and
If the
breaking
Romans
down
lose
the doors
here,
with axes.
well,
Because
be
of the way
historically
the Romans
accurate,
were
I think.
positioned on top of the base, they had no way to shoot these Mongolians who were breaking the door, meaning the Mongolians had no threat until the door was broken. When they did breach, one arrow was shot at a Roman, and he closed the secondary door. Now the Mongolians were inside the Romans' base, but one of the Roman members managed to get behind the Mongolians, build another gate, and now the Mongolians were trapped inside the base. There was no escape for these Mongolians,
If
and
they
they
could just
faced
end them
many
here.
casualties because they were completely trapped inside. However, there were a few members outside of the Romans' base who began breaking their way into this airlock,
If they could just...
and then the Mongolians inside the airlock began breaking their way out. The Romans kept closing and opening the inside gate, shooting at the Mongolians.
Man, they just had some,
Mongolians outside
their own
the base,
flame
however,
weapons.
were completely resilient, and they eventually broke down this gate, and the Mongolians got on their
Why didn't they have,
horses
like, a-
and ran straight back to their base.
what would they call it?
The Romans rebuilt, and the Mongolians were heading.
Why didn't they have the, you know, the
General
opening
Big
above?
Frank and
Like an
the
opening,
very
just
intelligent
keep throwing at
barbarians
them
were
at
on
the
their
ground.
way to the Romans' base. The Romans had actually invited
Oh, they had
the
lassos,
barbarians
but still.
over to their base for an alliance, and so the barbarians went straight inside, and the Romans just asked for them to wait there, as their leader, Donald Trump, was getting ready. While the barbarians were drawing inappropriate tattoos on each other, they were getting stared at with a ballista turret by the Romans. Donald Trump then ordered for the barbarians to be allowed inside the king's area, and so the debate between General Big Frank
Let's see.
and Donald Trump began. First, they
Let's see how
both
this
started
ends.
talking about what they would do if they were in an alliance together. It seemed though Donald really wasn't sure on this, and he decided to do something bold and completely out of the ordinary
Let's
that
see.
Frank would have never expected. As Frank and Donald were debating, one of the members struck one of the Romans, and so the Romans went crazy. They
Oh,
started
man.
killing loads and loads of barbarian members. Barbarians were falling like flies. However, Frank
Hey.
ordered all of them to stop fighting. He was screaming at both teams, telling them to stop fighting, and so Donald agreed. But just
Okay.
as Donald was standing inside the battlefield, he walked over to where Frank was. Donald wanted to get behind Frank and end his life personally. And so Donald slashed Frank with his sword. And
It's over.
Frank was getting very low on health. And then Frank
Hey, what's
ended up
happening?
getting cornered in the base where two of Donald's soldiers ended his life.
It's over.
This was the end of the barbarian civilization.
Barbarians done.
Only the Romans and Mongolians remaining.
Just like historically accurate.
Donald Trump ordered for the Romans to head straight for the Mongolians' base.
Yeah, that's historically accurate.
Editing, the Romans had arrived. Now because the
Yep.
Romans had killed these
So-
barbarians, the Romans now had control over Jar of Pitch, the special item of the barbarians. And so, as the Mongolians believed they were the only team to have long-range weapons, the Romans fired Jar of Pitch.
Just like, man, this is historically accurate right now.
And Albert ordered for all of them.
It's actually being historically accurate, hilariously enough.
All of the wood structures were burning down
So,
to pieces.
will the Romans
The
succeed?
Mongolians had no
Will the real ones fail?
structures
Or will the
against
Mongolians finally end
The
them?
Romans knew it was limited.
We'll see.
And they began firing in selective places, trying to burn down the most useful areas of the Mongolians' base. Even though nearly 30% of the Mongolians' base was being burnt down to bits, the
Dang.
Mongolians stood strong. They had many bows and arrows.
And they
would
basically
use
made
this to go far
territories.
and try and kill the Romans. These Mongolian archers were lined up, and they were ready for any invading Romans to be shot dead.
Okay.
The Mongolians, however, were fighting all the other Romans. One single Roman player, named Wes, managed to get into the courtyard of the Mongolian base, get his bow which he got from a Mongolian member,
Nice.
shoot the Mongolian archers. This man managed to kill one of the Mongolian members who was in a safe area of the base.
Ooh.
This gave the Romans the little bit of confidence they needed to go and attack the main entrance of the Mongolians.
Spirit, like energy, what's it?
Were distracted by
Aura!
the death.
What's it?
of Cossack.
Heroic aura.
The Romans had advanced straight into the main entrance.
It's over.
The gate was left open by a Mongolian member. It was now Mongolians versus Romans. The Romans had strong swords,
Meh.
but the Mongolians were using whips to take these swords away from the Romans and get it themselves. This meant
Okay.
Mongolians had complete control over the entire Roman army, as the
Dang.
Romans had no weapons at all.
Oh man.
Soldiers were completely defenseless. They began running for their lives, trying to escape the mob of Mongolians.
It's too late.
One of the Mongolian members managed to shoot a flame arrow onto one of the Romans, meaning he burnt to death, and the last
Ooh.
remaining player was killed with a sword by Albert himself.
In the end, it seems in the end,
Mongolian civilization has won the event.
once again,
You would ever like
history
to play
has
these
prevailed.
events,
Once
join
again.
the Discord in description, and also
See.
make sure to download Call of Dragons while you're at it. Use my link or the QR code.
Alright, I guess that's about it. I'll just end it there because I have no idea if there's gonna be an ad there. But hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I usually watch these social experiences on my off time to see what will happen if you put people in there, but obviously it gets out of control. But to think that basically historically accurate battles would happen in here, pretty nice, because if you don't know, I think this is how I remember it. Remember it from history, or the history I've watched on the internet, is that basically barbarians do get like knocked off eventually, and by the Romans eventually, and then basically the Romans are powered, but then they get weak and they get eventually taken out by everybody that hates them. And but Mongolians, I think that's the one. I think they were the ones that appeared during the time. Yeah, arrived and basically decimated the entire Roman legion, basically effectively helping end the Roman Empire. I mean, to think that this ended exactly the way it's still, well, almost historically accurate, is hilarious. I mean, in the end, I guess Romans were destined to fail. Was it destined to die out? I guess. Either way, that was very nice to watch. I know I wasn't reacting as much because I wanted to because I was observing and I didn't want to like interrupt anything. You know how my voice is. Like I don't want to freaking bore you guys with my wonderful voice. I know. So I decided just to let it run. Either way, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I said, I will leave Mr. Smart Guy's video down in the link below so you can go watch it yourself. Trust me, I seen one video recently about the desert one, and basically, trust me, you'll get trolled in one part of the video. Trust me. I wish I watched that first instead of this. Oh man. Anyway, right now, comment, subscribe down below if you enjoyed it, and also don't forget to basically join my Dark Army, because you guys have no choice. I'm your Dark Ruler. You know that you have no choice but to join my Dark Army. It is literally your duty, whether you like it or not. Alright? Cool. Got it. Like and share the video to help me and spread to my influence around. Spread it all over the place. Take that as you will. And don't forget to press the black bell button to be notified when my video pop-ups. And yeah, during that time, don't worry. We checked everything. Well, not yet. I'm going to check afterwards. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna go check right now to make sure everything's safe. So yeah, that's about it. But for right now, So for right now, press the black bell button to be notified whenever my videos pop up, or just come to my channel every once in a while to see what I upload. Because you know how YouTube channel is, she doesn't bother. But either way, for right now, my dark social experiment minions dismissed.